Hi, welcome to Giddygoat Patrick's Sewing Studio. My name is Geraldine Cahill and I'm going to run through how to make a little inside zippy pocket for a little pouch or a little bag. This video tutorial comes with the drawstring slouchy bag, so it's part of that kit. But it can be applied to any bag that you want to put an inside pocket in. This drawstring slouchy bag is available as a kit or a pattern. It comes in two sizes. So if you look at the kit section, if you're interested in making this, those are available there. So what we're going to do first of all is decide what we need to make this little inside pocket. So you're going to need your lining fabric, and the inside pocket is going to be applied to the lining fabric before you construct your bag. So you're going to make sure that you do it at this stage. So in this case, because of the nature of the way this is constructed, our lining fabric is going to be a big rectangle. So that is our lining fabric. And then you need your pocket fabric, and you need a piece of interfacing the same size as the pocket fabric. So to decide what size your pocket is, I wanted this opening to be a 6-inch opening. So I was going to use a 6-inch zip. Now this zip is much bigger, but I'm going to size it down. So the fabric then, the width of the pocket fabric has to be 2 inches wider than the zip. So this is cut at 8 inches wide. If your zip opening you wanted it to be 4 inches, you'd cut your fabric at 6 inches wide. This is for a 6-inch opening and it's 8 inches wide. And then the length of it depends on how deep you want your pocket. This is going to be folded up like that. So it starts off at 12 inches and it's going to end up that the depth of the pocket is going to be a 6-inch pocket. So depending on how deep you want your pocket, you obviously don't want it too shallow, but you don't want it too deep that it extends beyond the height of the bag. So in this tutorial that goes with the drawstring slouchy pouch, you're going to cut your fabric 8 inches by 12 inches and also a piece of interfacing that you're going to apply with a hot iron to the back of it. The next thing you're going to do is on the interfaced area here, you're going to draw some lines. So you're going to measure from the very top edge of your interfaced area, you're going to measure down 1 inch and draw a line straight across. Then just below that, 3/8 of an inch below, you're going to measure and you're going to draw another line straight across. And then from each edge, you're going to measure in 1 inch from each edge, and you're going to draw a little line between those two lines, okay? Then you're going to draw a center line between the top and the lower line. You're going to draw a center line right through the center from the 1 inch marks. On that center line, you're going to mark in 3/8 of an inch from that little line. You're going to put a dot there and then draw out into the corners to create a triangle. And you're going to do the same on the other side. And then you're going to call these A, B, C, and D. So I'm not sure whether the camera can zoom in, but that's what you're going to draw on your the back on the interfaced side of your pocket. And we are going to go to our sewing machine and be sewing along those lines. But the first thing we need to do is apply them to our lining. So you can see I have my pocket interfaced and I have my lines drawn there on the interfaced side of my pocket. So then where do I put it in my lining? So with the slouchy drawstring pouch, our big rectangle of lining fabric, we are going to fold that in half lengthways and then fold it again. So we folded it in 4 and we're going to give it a little press just to get some crease marks. So I'm going to give that a little press just to get some crease marks. So I know I've divided into 4 because it's done in a kind of a square shape. So I know I now have the 4 sides. So this first area here where I have the edge of the fabric and I also have the first crease is where I'm going to center my pocket right sides together on top of my lining piece, and I'm going to center it so that it's about 1.5 inches below. So I'm positioning it about 1.5 inches below the top edge. Okay, now I'm going to pin that in place. I'm going to center it and pin it in place, and I'm going to sew all around from A to B to C to D. And as I said, I'm going to start a little bit beyond A. So I'm going to sew from A to B to C to D, but I'm starting a little bit beyond A because when I come around to backstitch at the end, it's easier to do that on a straight edge than it is to do it at a corner. So I'm just going to sew around this area here. So I am going to start off with a little back stitch, sewing my pocket right sides together with my lining fabric. All the way as far as B and down to C, and then turn. To D, up the side, and then back to where I started, and do a little back stitch. So I can take out my pins, cut my threads, and so I have sewn that all around on one side of my lining piece. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a line where the center line is. I'm going to cut along that line, and then I'm going to cut and snip out into the triangles sides, and making sure that I don't cut my sewing. My stitching line is very important. I'm just going to cut off some threads first so they don't get in the way. So then I'm going to cut. So you're cutting through the interfacing and through the pocket fabric and through the underneath lining fabric. So all the way along the center line as far as the tip of the triangle, and then cut into each corner, very carefully making sure that you don't cut into your stitching. And the same on the opposite side, cut as far as the point or the tip of the triangle, and then cut into each corner carefully. So you see I have it open now. So what I'm going to do now is take the seam and fold it on the stitch line towards the interfaced pocket area, and finger press it the whole way along. And I'm just going to take the pocket fabric only and make sure that it's folded only over onto the pocket fabric and not the underneath lining. And I'm going to turn it over and sew on the pocket fabric only to top stitch that interfacing so it sits down. And I'm going to do the same on the opposite side, folding the interfacing back into the pocket fabric, the interfaced seams, and then sewing them only to the pocket fabric and not to the underlying lining fabric. So I make sure that the lining fabric is out of the way, and when I'm sewing from the good side of the fabric. So I'm just going to pop that in, and I'm not sewing the rectangles, I'm just sewing from one straight edge to the other straight edge, and that's just to top stitch, to keep that interfaced edge out of the way of the zip. And the same on the other side, again folding the interfacing and sewing from the good side of the fabric uppermost, and only on the pocket fabric, not on the lining fabric. So make sure the lining fabric is well out of the way. Just check every so often just to make sure that you aren't sewing the underneath lining fabric. So you can see that I have sewn the interfaced edges out of the way of the zipper edge. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pocket fabric and we're going to push it through the opening all the way through, taking all parts of the pocket fabric, including the triangles, everything, all through to the wrong side of the lining fabric. And we're going to give it a press. So we're just going to fold everything flat as we can, and give everything a press. From both the front and the back. So we're going to press from both sides, front and the back. So give it a good press so that it lies nice and flat for you. So you can see now that I now have an opening, and that opening is going to accommodate the zip. Okay, so the zip then, I have a zip and it's obviously too long, so I want this to be a 6-inch zip. So I'm going to create stops by sewing across the nylon part of the zipper teeth, and I'm going to do that to make it 7 inches wide. So I'm going to just mark 7 inches on my zip. So I have made 2 marks on the zip here and here to make it 7 inches wide. I'm going to make sure the zipper pull is within that 7 inches, and I'm going to sew across the marks just to create stops at 7 inches for what I want to be a 6-inch zip when it's finished. So just trying to hold your 2 parts of your zip together as you carefully sew across it, and you'll have to go back and forth a few times and nice and carefully because you don't want to break your needle. So you're just creating little stops and shortening your zip. So that's one side done, and I'm going to pop over to the other mark, which is 7 inches from the first mark, and again back and forth to create little stops for your zip. So now I can cut my zip. So I'm going to cut what I don't need, about 1/8 of an inch or thereabouts from the edge of the zip. And there's my little zip now. It's made smaller. I'll just get rid of any threads as well. So placing my zip in the opening with the zipper pull on the left hand side, I'm going to place my zip in the opening of the pocket area, and I'm going to pin it in place. Have I got any pins here? Here they are. So I'm just going to pin that in place all around the zip because I'm going to be sewing it in place. So the zip is right side face up and the lining lies on top of it, and I'm just going to pin that in place so I can sew the lining onto the zip. So if you can see that there, I have my zip positioned in the little opening and it's pinned in place. So I'm going to sew all the way around from the front all the way around my zip to hold it in place. Now I might need a little zipper foot, but I'm going to see if I can do it without it for the moment. Going to open that out. You can take the pins out as you go along. I'm just going to close that zip now just to kind of get it out of the way. So all the way along, up the side. All the way to the other side. Down the side and all the way across. I'm just going to go over this area here because I didn't really do a great job there. Right. So I'm going to cut any threads that might be in my way of the zip. And there you see I have my zipper positioned in. So I'm using a good visible purple zip so you can see my zip. And I have my little zip applied in and sewn all around. So the next thing now I have to do is on the back where my pocket is, I'm going to fold my pocket up and I'm going to sew my two sides of my pocket, I'm going to sew 1, 2, 3 sides, obviously not the bottom, and I'm only sewing through the pocket area fabric. I'm not sewing through the lining, and I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So do a little back stitch. Remember to back stitch at the start and at the end. Make sure to take that lining fabric out of the way so that you're only sewing the pocket fabric and not the lining. And a back stitch at the end. And that is it. So that's your pocket. So you open up and there is your little pocket inside, okay? So that is very, very simple, how you apply your pocket to your inside lining fabric. So you can see, very handy for storing scissors, things like that, to have that little pocket. And once it's in the lining, you'll continue with the construction, putting the lining and the exterior part of your bag together because you have your pocket already in. So that's it. I hope that is clear enough for you, and I hope you enjoy using it as part of the drawstring slouchy bag or any other projects that you would like. And as I said, this kit and lots of other kits are available in our kids section. So thank you so much for watching this video tutorial.